So we're already recording. So if you're not here, you're just late. And let's get going. So the goal here today for our last session of the day is to talk about virtual admissions. And really, virtual admissions is the foundation of current admissions processes. And I hate the term the new normal, but it really has become the way to present and the way to grow your school is virtual. And the schools that have embraced it are doing fantastic. The schools that are still trying to resist or still think that bringing them to campus, those are schools that are still struggling a bit with it. So I'm going to show a few statistics for you here to begin with. So let's hop into it and we'll talk. So again, those who have been in several of our sessions, I'm Tom King with Enrollment Resources. Helping along today is Lexington Maximus with The Art of Admissions. And we're going to take you through some of the best practices. Now, we've only got 30 minutes, and we're going to take you through as many of these tools as we can. We still have yet to get to a point where we can take questions at the end. But so we're going to try. But if not, we're going to give you a lot of unique things that you can take with you. But really, the key to virtual admissions, there are so many different areas to take a look at. So let's jump into it. And what we have found in the admissions process is by moving from virtual admissions or virtual versus in-person, that we've seen dramatic increases in the effectiveness and the conversion rates for schools. So a few of the things I want to point out here is lead to appointment show. So when you're comparing virtual versus in-person best practices, this means your school is already best practice in in-person admissions, meaning you've got at least a 60% contact rate or more, you've got at least a 70% appointment setting rate or more, and you've got at least an 80% appointment show rate or more, which translates into roughly a 34% lead to appointment show rate. That's best practice. If you can exceed that or hit that number, you're what we would consider as a school that's best practice. However, from a virtual standpoint, because it's so much more convenient to set appointments virtually than it is to get in the car, get a bus, get on the train, take a ride, have the kids, a babysitter for the kids, take your husband or spouse or wife or somebody with you, avoid accidents, avoid being called in late to work. You can all go through and give me a million excuses as to why your students didn't show for their appointment and why your show rate's not great. And really it's because you made them come to your campus. So instead of making it convenient for them to purchase, you're forcing your student to have to come to your campus and go through all of that travel, all of those headaches. And I don't know, is it Jacob or Jakob? I don't know. Jacob, I don't know, is it Jacob?
Jacob or Jakob, either will do.
Okay, I mean, I want to be right on it. But so you had one of your coworkers sitting on your lap about 10 minutes ago, and you know that it's not convenient. If somebody is going to say to you, hey, I want you to come down to my place of business to buy something that you could buy online, is that convenient? Okay, it's not. So it's really critical that you adopt it virtual simply because it allows you to bring the school to the student in a way that it's convenient for them versus what's convenient for you. Schools operate on, well, this is what's convenient for us. My admissions reps only work 9 to 5, and we're closed on Fridays, and we're closed on Saturdays. So let's make it as difficult as humanly possible to allow our students to try to get information, make a connection, and enroll. So let's not work evenings. Let's not work weekends. Let's force them to come on campus. And now that we've got a pandemic, let's make them come on campus, wear a mask, take their temperature, and stay 6 feet away from us the entire time. It's lunacy to make students come on campus. And what we found is by using virtual, we can get anywhere from about a 30% to almost a 100% increase in appointment show rates, simply because it's easier to set an appointment for someone to do a Zoom or virtual meeting. And it's easier for them to show because there's nothing in the way. And if you do it correctly, and we have so much information, I don't know, we're going to get all this through this. I'm still on the first slide and we're 5 minutes in. It's so much easier to allow them to do this virtually, and it's just as effective to do that. And if you can pump up your appointment shows by 20, 30, 50, 100%, all the rest of the presentation being equal, if you can still close at a relatively similar rate to on campus, you're going to see a giant increase. And this was what Frank was talking about earlier at his campus. And we've seen schools running 30, 40, 50% increases year over year. Lex, we had one school 100% 1 month or something, I believe that we were talking to.
Yeah, we're 100%. And here's one of the things too to understand is that most schools have come on board with video virtual presentations during the time of COVID. However, the first video call was made in 1927. Most people don't realize that. And when video became ubiquitous, meaning it became common, anyone can use it, it was in 2007. And at the Art of Admissions, we've been training schools how to get great in it since 2007. This is not new. It's almost 20-year-old technology. But the key is we're going to share, as much as we have time for, specific elements that you need to address and up-level your skill set to be great in video admissions.
Absolutely. So just a couple numbers up on the screen, and you can take them for what they're worth. But the average school can see somewhere in the neighborhood of a 20% or more increase, up to 70% increases in lead to applications simply by moving to virtual. Why bring students back on your campus? So there's 4 keys that we're going to touch base on a few of the pillars today. But there's really 4 main pillars to virtual admissions that we want to talk about. The first is technology. It's what is needed to conduct a high quality virtual career planning session, as we call it. So what do you need from a technology standpoint? And it's not just we need Zoom or we need a headset or something. In fact, we don't want you to have a headset. So we'll talk about that. What are some of the tactics that you need? Do you have a framework on how to present and how your team is going to work virtually, or are they just throwing a bunch of stuff together and hoping that it works? Then the third piece is techniques. Does your team know how to act, how to talk, and how they come across virtually to make a connection with that explorer in a virtual world, which is a little more difficult, but with the right techniques, it can be just as effective, if not more. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is training, practicing and role playing, which is going to be key. If you've been on any of the sessions that we've done today, we have talked about practice and role playing. If you aren't doing it 15 to 20 minutes a day with your team, you're not developing your team. 1 hour a week, 1/2 an hour a week session, trying to do some training where you review numbers, that's not helping your team. Your team needs to practice role play and understand how to become more comfortable, more fluent, and better at what they do from a virtual standpoint. And before I'm going to let Lex jump in and talk about sound in a minute here, and he'll give you a sample of different types of sound and how they can affect your presentation. But the last thing I want to touch base on, which is not one of the tips that we have on here today, is the 2 things that I'm a big fan of. Number 1 is, I say it, assume the Zoom. Have the mindset that every single person that you will ever get on the phone can join you on a Zoom call. Stop saying, well, in my area, they don't have technology. They still use sticks to rub together to make fire. Okay, so where we live, our students are, students are the same all over the place. I don't care if you're in Louisiana, if you're in Calgary, if you're in New York, California, Des Moines, Iowa, doesn't matter. Students have the same accesses, for the most part, to technology, and almost all of your students have a smartphone, so they all have the access and the ability to join you. The problem is, do you accept your own limitations on, I don't think they can do this, so I don't want to do it. And then the second piece too, as we jump into this, is appointment setting is something that we've moved past. It's now application calls. If every phone call you make, your goal should be to move them into a virtual presentation during the phone call, and then move them through the entire presentation and an application all in one session instead of making appointments. Once you become good at that and your team becomes good at that, you will see your 80 to 85% show rates go to 90, 95, 100% appointment set and show rates, simply because you've mastered the ability to move them into a presentation. So there's enough on why Zoom and why virtual is so important. Lex, let's talk a little bit about sound, and why is sound such an important piece of the virtual presentation?
All right, well, to start off, how's my sound? Is it incredible sound? Can you hear me all right? Probably not, right? And now,
Is this better sound now? All right, the first sound is how most reps sound. If you use your computer microphones, which most schools do, the sound is not great. Many times it sounds like you're coming from the bathroom. It's very echoey, a lot of reverb. And if you had to choose between great video or great sound, ideally you will never have to choose, but always choose great sound, because that's how you're actually communicating with your explorer, your prospective student. And just because your sound works, like right now my sound works great, I may have this meeting, pop back in, computer defaults to my microphone on my computer instead of from my external mic. You've got to test the sound often, and because you're not going to know how you sound. So that's super important to ask your colleagues, hey, let's just do a quick sound check. Do that every day, multiple times throughout the day. And also you've got to use a quality microphone. And there's one, maybe Tom can put up a link. It's only something like $35 or $38. It gives you world-class sound, because people will judge and assess your school from the technology. If it sounds echoey and unprofessional, that's part of your school brand. It's dinging your brand. And it's also bringing the level of perceived status down of the admissions rep. So if it sounds tinny or echoey, it's not good. It's unprofessional. It's like AM radio. Would you rather listen to AM, which is my first example, or FM, which is now? And lastly, avoid the headsets. They're clunky. It looks like you're talking down like air traffic control, talking down hijackers for a peaceful and safe landing. Don't do that. You want this to be as organic and as much as it's a real experience as if it's in person, thus the word virtual, as if it is. So anything, if you have a headset on, it's not helpful. And the mic that Tom's going to put in here, the microphone link, Tom King will put it in there, is a microphone you can have off camera. It's not seen like mine in front of you. So super important. Invest today. Get this mic, the one that Tom just put in with Amazon. Buy it today for all your reps. Amazon, stop.
Right. And it's the same one I'm using. So I happen to be using this same microphone that I popped in the chat here. So it's easy, USB microphone. It'll give you really great quality sound. And you won't have that whole echo, that tinny feeling, and you'll look a lot more professional when you have great quality sound, and you don't have to worry about having your headset on and the way it looks with virtual backgrounds. Because when you do that, you know, like Lex, he looks like he's a DJ about to spin some albums right now. So DJ Lex, you don't want to come across like that. So sound is absolutely one of the most important pieces that you have to get right, because if you get it wrong and you don't sound well as looking well, you're going to turn this off. And I equate it to when you look at a high budget TV production, and let's say the evening news, whichever channel you may watch, pick any news channel and look at the set, and then look at your local cable 9 channel news and see what the difference is. It's obviously not the same quality. If you remember back the old Wayne and Garth show from the basement, okay, you don't want to look like your Wayne and Garth in the basement doing a show. You want to look like you're professional, because you're selling a program that could be anywhere from $10 to $20 to $30 to $40,000 or more, and you want to look like you are professional when you do it.
One other part is, if people cannot hear you well when you're giving a presentation, it creates stress. And when they're feeling stress, they are disengaging with you and also not feeling positive emotional. They don't even know what's going on. They just feel stressed.
So the next piece here is we're going to talk about video and framing. So Lex mentioned that sound is by far the most important piece, but right behind it on its heels is video. It's the quality of the video. Can we see you? And how well can that explorer connect with you? Because all admissions is all about the emotional connection that we can create with our explorer. And it's most important that they see you. A lot of times, people don't turn their cameras on because they don't want to be seen. They're embarrassed. They're in the middle of something else. It's okay that they do that. But it's not okay that they can't see you. So we want them to see you, and we want it to be professional. And 55% of all communication is physiological. It's the way you appear. It's them connecting with you in person. It's them seeing your eyes. And some of the things that are really critical here is your background. Do you have a green screen? Or are you doing something that's in an area that doesn't look professional? Are we want you to come across looking professional, looking like this is a high quality, again, production. Buy a green screen. They're $100, like Lex has there. There are a couple $150 up to $200, somewhere in that range. Well, what if I have to buy it for 20 reps? Yeah, you do. You have to spend $100 on 20 reps, and we have to spend $2,000 on green screens so that we can sell millions of dollars worth of education to students and look professional while we do it. The next piece is lighting. You want to be lit from the front. So you want to have great lighting on your face, because the eyes are the windows to the soul, and your facial features speak volumes to the prospect, to our explorer. So we want to be front lit. Do you have one of the circle light rings? Anything that can help you highlight your facial features, because the last thing you want is to be backlit because you have a window behind you or something else, and now your face is dark and you look like you're in the witness protection program. So we don't want to come across that way with our explorers. The next piece here is we want you to be centered. So when you're looking at me, am I off to the side, or do I look like this? If this is how you appear with your prospects, is this really going to be engaging, or is it going to start to become annoying, or does it look like this when I'm doing because the desk is bouncing or something like that? You want to be framed in the center, a third of the space above your head, 2/3 below your chin, centered horizontally and vertically so that you're dead center. Because if I'm off to the side here, eventually this is going to become irritating. It's going to become distracting, and it's going to take the focus away, because they're going to be like, why does he or she look like they're sitting to the side? And now they're focused on that, and they're not hearing anything that you're saying. The last two pieces, look directly into the camera. Don't look over here at the screen so that I can see all of your faces and wave to everybody. But now I'm looking at you, but no, you're really over here. You have to get used to being able to look at the camera. And then the last piece here too is, if you've got the opportunity, get a high quality camera that works at least in 1080p. So you want to have a high quality camera. Invest in the technology to be able to present professionally to your students, and not some haphazard way that looks like you're doing some kind of FaceTime from your basement. Lex, any final comments on that? I know we've only got 10, 12 minutes to go, but.
Yeah, right on. For everyone here, you got to make sure your reps, or if you're a rep, looking directly at the camera, put a Post-it note or a small photo that says, look at me, or a loved one there. Okay, that's the biggest disconnect that admissions reps have. They're looking at the person's eyes on the screen, but they are not behind their eyes on the screen. They're behind the webcam lens. So that's just critical. It's counterintuitive. It just takes practice.
So learn how to present with great sound, great video, frame yourself. So now let's go and jump into tactics. And I'm going to run through this one myself just really quickly. This is what we've developed in Virtual Advisor. So this is, again, not a sales pitch here, but this is what we've perfected with Lex's script from the Art of Admissions. We've put together a way to present professionally. And what a lot of schools have been doing is, well, some schools are using a PowerPoint, and then they're going to share a YouTube video. Then they're going to put up a PDF document of the program slick. And then they're going to share another PowerPoint of something else. And then maybe there's a slide or a handout of something else at the end. It's all discombobulated. It's all going to look different. And one thing to note is that when you're presenting, you need a structured plan for your reps so that they're not all over the place. And well, you know, this video won't play. It's not loading. Or I can't get I lost the link. It used to be in my bookmarks and it's gone. Why do you have to have 5 different things that you're trying to show when all you need is one platform in a structured way that you can present what we talk about as a 30-minute structured presentation? This is shorter than in person, and the optimal time period that we've found is 30 minutes. Discovery, which we talked about earlier today, about 7 minutes of discovery at the end, creating that connection, getting to their core why and their why now. Then about 4 minutes on about us with visuals. What are the key features of your school? What makes your school stand out? Not every feature, and understanding how to present the benefits of those features. Then a short 2 to 3 minutes video that has no sound. That's a walkthrough of your school so that you can narrate and start and stop and start and stop the video so that you can recreate the excitement of walking people through a tour of your facility. But you got to keep it short, 2 to 3 minutes, and don't have sound and music and all of that. And that maybe takes 4 minutes. So now we're up to approximately 15 minutes. I'm going to go through the program itself. So I'm going to go through the course, the overview of the course, each module in that course, and what the schedule is going to be like for that course and potentially the career outcomes. It takes me 5 minutes to present that in a great manner. Then I'm going to talk about the financial aid options that may be available based upon what you may qualify for. I'll cover the tuition investment. It takes only a few minutes for that. And then we're going to bridge to the application and get them to at least move to an application online. Now, whether that means we do full paperwork later and then they meet with financial aid next, what have you, but you can also bring financial aid in. That may go past the 30 minutes, but ideally we want to stick to about a 30-minute structure. Lex, any comments on that?
Yes. Most reps, you talk too damn much. And you're so looking to overload people with information. They disengage, they get overwhelmed emotionally. So using this process that Tom shared that's in the Enrollment Resources pathway is golden. And you don't need to say nearly as much as you think you do. You need to ask more questions, give less information. This gives plenty of time for both.
Absolutely. So keep it short, keep it structured, and that's what we put together in the Virtual Advisor tool with full script so the reps know exactly what they need to say, when they need to say it, and how to say it. And then you just need to role play and practice so that you can present this in a professional format. All right, so there's a little bit of the structure. So now you've got great sound, you've got great, video and lighting, you've got a pathway in which to present from that allows you to put on a great presentation. But now you have to be able to present correctly. And some of the techniques that you need, we're going to cover here. So Lex, I'll let you jump into a little bit about tonality here, vocal tonality.
All right. Vocal tonality is the #1 area that reps never get trained in. There is no training other than I know that we do with schools. They get told what to say. They're given scripts, but they're not trained how to say it. And tonality is a key to establishing rapport, building trust and credibility and leadership. Now, tonality makes up 38% of an in-person communication. And if it's just a phone call, it makes up 84% of your phone communication. And vocal inflection increases the engagement of the listener. Because if you're like that movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Bueller, what inspires you to consider becoming an earthworm farmer, Bueller? You're going to lose them. I don't care how great your script is. And most reps sound boring as hell. When we do mystery shopping, which we do every Friday on our TV show we do online, it's Mystery Shopping Fridays. We call schools all over Canada and US. Most of them sound terrible. And so if you think your school sounds great, join us on Admission. Let's Shop Your School. Because most reps are just not aware of this training. And most reps come with conversational tonality, how they talk with their friends and family. Hey, how you doing? What inspires you to consider becoming a medical assistant? You got to transition that to inspirational tonality. And our instruments are our voice, no different than a singer, a great pianist, or a violinist. It needs training. We're not born with great skills in how to utilize our instrument. And developing vocal charisma requires you, #1, to get out of your comfort zone. And lastly, it's the most challenging element to train admissions reps in, because most human beings, they equate their conversational tonality with their core personality and their core being. And as soon as someone starts to change that or attempt to change that and stretch that, they think you're trying to change them. So the key is, just like any great actor or actress, you got to be able to develop your voice and be willing to develop this inspirational tonality, which is a little bit more energetic. There's a little bit more variation in highs and lows in pitch. And when you do that, there will be way more engagement and way more people end up moving forward because they're going to feel way more inspired. Does that make sense?
Excellent.
Thank you, Karina.
So now
Bye.
sounding great and having great tonality with your voice leads to also having great facial tonality. So Lex, what is facial tonality?
People feel what they hear and people feel what they see. And that's why every admissions rep or representative, for better or worse, is now a professional actor or actress. And congruence is incredibly important. If you develop your vocal tonality and you're sounding very, I don't even know how to do it, but if you're sounding very excited, but your face looks like you just had 15,000 injections of Botox, there's incongruency there. People will feel uncomfortable. They will feel you're not sincere, and they're going to disconnect from you. So the key is to stretch your facial tonalities. When you practice and role play daily, exaggerate your excitement, your eyebrows, your eyes, your smiles, so that you get used to stretching all of the muscles in your face. And instead of conversational facial tonality, it's more inspirational facial tonality, because 55% of communication is nonverbal. It's your expressions, it's your body language, it's the light in your eyes. And so you need to stretch and exercise your face. It's going to feel silly. It's going to feel weird. But these are the skill set trainings that you got to do daily to become highly effective. And if anyone wants a free 30-minute or 1 hour session, email me. I'll train your team, give an initial training in this. lex@theartofadmissions.com. It takes training. You can't just tell people that. They've got to practice and role play it daily.
And there was I've got a, see if I can pull this up. I've also got something I just came across the other day. And this is sales related, so it's not necessarily an admissions tool. And I know we've got about 4 minutes, but we've only got one more slide, so I think we'll actually make it. But I wanted to share this slide with you as well. And what this shows is what the difference is from the start of the entire COVID piece and up until now as to how well schools are doing. Let's see if I can share this on my screen. So this little chart gives you an idea of how things have gone this year with deals created, which would be setting appointments, and then deals closed or enrollments. And you can see that as soon as COVID hit, it just cratered all the way down to into July. So people were having trouble setting appointments because nobody wants to come into your school, and they should never come into your school. And then you couldn't close deals because you didn't have them, even when you had them, nobody wanted to move forward. So this was all based upon virtual. And the more people got comfortable with virtual, so this is here, you can start to see somewhere around July, the light bulb started to go on for people. And then they started to set more virtual appointments and closing more people virtually. Then they thought, oh, this thing's going to go away. I'm going to go back to the way I used to do it. And it completely dropped off the face of the earth again. And then they realized, okay, maybe I shouldn't be doing it that way. I should go back to virtual. And that's really how things have gone in this industry. Virtual is the way of doing it. It brings the opportunity to enroll and explore to your explorer where they're most comfortable. And we're not saying don't ever bring them on campus, but there is absolutely no need to bring anyone to your campus in order to tour them, talk about the advantages of the career, and enroll them, or at least get them to start the application process. And if you do it right, you should also be able to do all of your financial aid virtually too. There's absolutely no reason for anyone to ever come to your campus except for some kind of an info session or to start class at some point down the road. So that's something to at least bear in mind and keep in and keep in mind. And then the last piece here, we talked about it earlier, so I'm not going to spend too much time on today. And I know we've only got about a minute and a half left, but understanding the techniques of how to question. We talked about this in the earlier session, so I won't reiterate too much of it here, but understanding the question beneath the question techniques, how to create the emotional connection. When you have great tonality, you look professional on camera, and you've got a great connection with somebody, it's all about creating the emotional connection and understanding the art of the QBQ and how to go beneath the surface question and create that emotional connection. It's more important in virtual than it's ever been in person. Okay, you need to be able to create that connection. And once you do, and they trust you, they buy into you, they will move forward with a virtual presentation. We can go through the About Us, we can tour them through the campus, explain financial aid, cover the program, get them excited, build great value, and then at the end, I'm going to simply move you into an application. And we'll be able to move them into that application and then potentially into a financial aid meeting all in one. And if done correctly, this can all be done in under an hour, half an hour for the presentation, maybe 10 minutes to have them apply. And in my last 15 seconds here, if you guys want assistance with this, you can email me at Tom at Enrollment Resources or Lex at The Art of Admissions. We'll try to help you with the training here. We'll put together a platform